It's a well-known fact that recruiting a diverse workforce and prioritizing workplace inclusivity improves employee engagement, well-being, and most importantly, revenue growth. So why don't more companies prioritize diversity and inclusion in the hiring process? On this episode of Mission Driven, we sit down with John Stross and Daniel Chait of Greenhouse.
Greenhouse software is all about helping companies becoming great at hiring. Tell us what inspired you both to launch Greenhouse.
Yeah, well, I've been an entrepreneur almost my whole career, and through that experience of building companies and growing teams, I came to see just how important having great talent was to me in my pursuit of entrepreneurship. When I talk to leaders and organizations all over the world, what you hear is that at the one hand, everyone's happy to say that our people are our most important asset. And at the same time, they tell you that actually competing and winning for top talent is a huge struggle. And we knew that it could be done better.
How has the industry and hiring changed since you started a decade ago?
When we started Greenhouse in 2012, substantially no companies were systematically doing structured hiring. We collect millions and millions of scorecards through the system on behalf of our customers every year, which means every single one of those scorecards that comes in, that's the story of someone having had a more fair, a more meaningful, and a more useful interview. Of course, the second big change in the last decade that we've been in business has been an increased awareness and an increased focus on social justice and issues of fairness and equity as they relate to hiring.
What makes Greenhouse a purpose-driven company?
When we say we want to help you be great at hiring, it's also about being more fair. Ultimately, when companies allow bias to get into the process, and you end up making decisions not based on somebody's ability to do the job, but based on their identity, you're both making a worse decision and a less fair decision, limiting opportunities for people. So ultimately, we believe that if we're successful, not only will we help our customers make better decisions in their hiring process, but also more fair decisions.
How has your experience as an entrepreneur shaped your outlook on the recruiting and hiring landscape?
To me, the personal experience of executives and leaders and managers all throughout the company of being directly and personally involved in hiring was one of the most impactful lessons.
I think the big lesson for me has always been find the deepest, most profound problem. We came along and said, I think there's a bigger problem than merely that recruiters don't like their tools. The bigger problem is that the company fundamentally isn't winning at recruiting. And so I think by choosing this bigger problem, it took us in a different direction and built different stuff than what people historically had done.
One of the ways you help companies improve their hiring process is through the hiring maturity curve. Can you talk a little bit about the way the curve works?
So the Greenhouse product is fundamentally there to help companies make a plan as to how they're going to make the hire, and then go ahead and execute that plan and make sure that every person in the company who's involved with hiring gets to play their role. So when you set up an interview process, you say, here's the things that we're looking for in this job. Here are the things that we know based on these skills or personality traits. We think that the person will be able to do the job. And then they assign that out to each interviewer so they know exactly who's supposed to cover what questions they should ask, what tests they should perform. An interviewer is told, hey, you're going to meet this candidate, ask these 3 questions, write down this feedback, and you're going to meet 5 more candidates after that and do the exact same thing.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion is central to the Greenhouse platform. How do you foster that outward mission within your workplace environment?
So number one is learning and development. So we've created a training program for our executive team, for our people managers, all of our different DE&I committees and groups, so that folks are really trained up in what is diversity, equity, inclusion work right now in the tech field, and how can we enact different changes across all of our systems and functions internally. Additionally, what we're doing is making sure that our leadership teams are really ingrained in the work of our employee resource groups and our diversity, equity, and inclusion council. And so those 2 groups actually help to hold our leaders accountable to all of our shared DE&I measures that we have across the org as well. The third thing that we're doing with our different leaders is making sure that we're sharing our workforce representation and DE&I journey, externally with others, so that we have some external accountability to those internal measures. And the fourth, but not last one, is making sure that our leaders see themselves as part of our talent acquisition team, and so that they are helping to actually expand their own networks, get out into different communities that maybe they haven't interacted with before, so that when it comes time for that next awesome job, even internally we have a diverse array of folks that we're bringing in.
Can you talk to us a little bit about your involvement with Tech for Black Founders?
Tech for Black Founders is such an important part of the work that our team does. We have a core implementation team that is centered around ensuring they're properly onboarded, that they're set up for success, and that they have services for the completion of a full year of their partnership with us.
With so much disruption in employment due to COVID-19, How have you noticed recruitment managers responding?
Certainly there's a challenge of there's more applicants than ever because more people are out looking, and typically companies have a little bit fewer recruiters, so they're just kind of inundated with candidates. And so we're trying to empower them with as many tools as they can to fairly but also quickly evaluate who's most appropriate. The bigger difference we see is around onboarding new employees. Suddenly all the things you would normally do to bring them into the company, make them feel a part of the community, teach the values, teach the social norms, let them learn their job, all those things, a lot of them happen just kind of naturally by osmosis by having them sit at their desk next to their teammates. And now none of that happens anymore. And so there's all this extra work that companies are doing to get really intentional about how do I bring somebody in who I'm not going to physically meet and they're becoming part of the company.
What's your vision for the future of Greenhouse Software?
We say our mission is to help every company to become great at hiring. We are far from mission accomplished. There's tons and tons of problems that we're excited about solving for our own customers and scaling to more and more kinds of organizations. Where we are today at Greenhouse feels very much like the early days, the early innings of a long journey, and I'm proud of what we've done so far, but there's a lot more to do.